What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we have another discussion video, and I've been looking at a lot of the comments that you guys have been sharing. There's so many things to consider with the Division Resurgence. Now, when I first saw, the Division Resurgence, I had a lot of different opinions regarding this particular IP. I thought to myself, now, what is the reason for a mobile game when there is, in my opinion, a lot of things that the Division would need from a quality of life perspective? Now, I also understand that, from some of my opinions that I've given in the last few days, there are things that, I think probably may not necessarily be relevant in this time and space because the Division IP is just way too old to be able to implement them in a way that has any impact. So I guess it makes some sense. Now, some of the things that I've mentioned in the past is potentially they could have used the resources that they're putting in towards making Resurgence to work on, say, crossplay, cross-save functionalities. They could have probably maybe even, say, invested it into making another Division game and so on and so forth. And some of you have actually, pushed back and you've said, what if, and, this is a hypothesis, the Division Resurgence is actually opening the doors for people to be able to get a Division 3 game. That is, the Division Resurgence is just a door to open up more investment cash to flow in that will be put into a major IP. Now, I'm willing to entertain that thought process, and we're going to discuss it here in this video because I think it's quite necessary that we look at things from all kinds of perspectives when it comes to Tom Clancy's The Division and The Division 2. So first of all, the Division Resurgence being a mobile game appears to me, and let's not mince any words, like something that's really going to demand a very significant amount of dollars from people who are going to play the game. I mean, it's a mobile game, and we know that Ubisoft just recently, or I don't know how recent it is, depending on when you're looking at it, had announced a few partnerships with some mobile game development investors. So I think this is possibly where this is coming from. They want to tap into the market. They're throwing out IPs that they feel can go mobile and perhaps potentially gain some traction. So this is probably a business strategy that they're primarily trying to use to make a little bit of money. Now, I get it. I'm somebody who appreciates when a business is doing what a business is supposed to do. The reason I say that is because devs get paid if businesses make money. Devs get canned if businesses don't make money. Now, as to how much they get paid and all of that, let's leave that conversation for somebody else that's going to be doing market analysis, because I know there's going to be an upheaval that most devs don't get paid enough in some capacities here and there. But that's not necessarily our conversation. Our conversation is maybe the Division Resurgence is going to provide some investment dollars to put into a potential Division IP. Now, a potential Division IP is something that we've already entertained in this channel. We've been talking about this for a very long time because there are so many markers that show that there's potentially going to be more in this universe to come. The developers so far are in positions where they're still working on the current Division game while their main teams are completing and winding down another big game, and there has not been an announcement for anything else. So it's almost natural that a Division is in the works. Even though you might say, well, they've announced the Star Wars game, even though you might point out to the Avatar game, it still doesn't mean anything. They announced the Avatar game way before they even talked about a Division 2 game. I think they announced the Avatar game in 2017, and in 2019, boop, there was a Division 2 game already released. So it doesn't shock or does it surprise me that they haven't said anything regarding this Division franchise. Also, keep in mind the numbers. There is a 40 million player install base for the Division. Now, I usually use the word install base. You guys know my terminology here because not all 40 million of us are actually playing the game. And some people may say, well, I gave up on Division a long time ago. Well, the game is probably still sitting in your system. Possibly your files are still in the cloud, depending on the servers that you're using. And so you are part of the Division install base. In fact, if you install the Division 2 on PC, you are part of about 10 million agents who installed the game on your PC, because we don't do discs anymore much on PC. So that is almost a guaranteed number of players in a sense. And then for those of us who bought the game digitally on Xbox and PlayStation, that is, that's also another guaranteed install base. So that is a huge number of players to leave just hanging or trying not to at least tap into, because the numbers for successful games, as many people might want to, categorize, is not necessarily a big deal. The Division 2, judging by different measurements, is a success. I mean, if you think about it, let's just do a comparison. Ghost of Tsushima just recently put out their numbers, having sold 9.7 million copies. Did you hear what I said? 9.7 million copies. Now, is that a success? Of course it is. 9 million copies is a huge number. It's a really, really big number. And so when we think about the Division 1 and the Division 2, who those games surpassed Ghost of Tsushima, and yes, I hear you, Ghost of Tsushima was a PlayStation exclusive. Who cares? They're the ones in Sucker Punch that decided that they were going to make PlayStation exclusives. No one forced them to. They could have made a different arrangements to make their games available for everybody else. But, or maybe that was the agreement they signed with Sony when they got, acquired, or maybe when they started working with Sony. So that is out of the question because there are other PlayStation exclusives that have pretty much broken bank as well. So we're not going to even do that. We're just going to have to call the terms the way that they actually are for us. So with all of that, I think it's starting to come together. Now, if you even add to the conversation and say, okay, well, what other money-making sources is going to be available? I think this is where Heartland comes into. Now, some people will frown at the free-to-play model with, the potential of microtransactions and all of the above. And I understand and I get it. Here is where I stand regarding that. If I pay for a game, if I pay full price for a game or whatever the price is set for the game, I do not necessarily think there has to be microtransactions in that game in any sense or any manner. Now, cosmetics, once in a while, some of us would dabble into just because, but it's not necessarily anything that's giving you an advantage to win. And I understand that there are people that even still jump on me for saying that because they're like, well, you're the problem because you're giving these devs an inch, you're giving these publishers an inch and all of the above. I get it. But to me, I could always choose or decide not to even buy any cosmetics because there are already cosmetics that are free within the game. So it's not necessarily something that I would argue in that sense. Now, if say they were selling guns or, they were selling better weapons in the game and all that stuff that would give me better stats or whatever. Now that's where I say, okay, that microtransaction type deal is not to be found in a game that you've paid full price for. In a free mobile game, you already know that this is what you're going into. So in many cases, I would, in fact, if not in all cases, I would say, hey, I would not pay any money for a free-to-play game in any sense. Look at Diablo Immortal. They went ahead and they made their pay-to-win structure so terrible that people have been spending so much money on there. But here's the thing. The person that, there were reports that somebody spent $100,000 on Diablo Immortal. It's that person's choice. That person made the decision consciously. They didn't accidentally trip and fall over and hit buy every single time, for $100,000. They made the decision to go ahead and do that. So those of us that want to use our resources for other things will more than likely not do that. We'll probably just save up our money when the next Division iteration comes out. We go ahead and buy it, or we buy ourselves a really nice GPU, maybe a 3090 Ti, and just spend that money in a whole different way. I think that probably satisfies the need for everybody to be able to experience the Division in a way that they actually want to do it. Because if you think about it, Resurgence is not for everyone. And I understand. Some people even have said, hey, we would like to play Resurgence as well on mobile. Some of you are just being selfish. You just wanted to just be on your one platform. I saw this one comment and I thought to myself, my goodness, what kind of silly comment is this? What do you mean being selfish? The amount of money we've spent on the Division, some people will probably, they will not get to that amount of money in any case. But let's just rest that for now. Let's not go into that, discussion because it doesn't really serve any purpose. But at the end of the day, my premise is this. If Resurgence promises to be something that rakes in money from whales to give us a good game, I can't argue against that because everybody's at some point knowledgeable about what it is they want to do with their money. Now, I would hope that, young kids are not fished in this entire thing. That's one thing that EA did with FIFA that really made it quite abhorrent because these were young children that they were actually targeting with their game that was rated E. Thankfully, some people went after them in terms of some countries and legislation, which not really a big fan of, but I think it probably had to happen to kind of tone them down because EA is nasty, man. When EA wants to make money, they don't care who's on the other end. They just want to farm those dollars at any cost. But at the end of the day, too, I'm in a position where if adults are willing to give money to this company so that this company can invest in more IPs that those of us who don't want to deal with that are going to enjoy, hey, please, by all means, fund the next Division 3 game if that's something that you want to do. I'll leave the comments open. Tell me what you think, and hopefully we'll talk very soon. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Peace out.